Hey there everybody, Joe here. This is my last video on this painting. Now, here is a picture that has no meaning. I mean, a person doesn't have any reason to spend a long time looking at this picture. Now, if I do this, it adds a little bit more meaning because now there's relationship. And you might ask the question, why are there those two things standing side by side? And you might see the differences between them, even though there's not a whole lot of difference that seems to matter there. But it's still relatively meaningless compared to this. Now, I'll take it and I'll go like this. There, meaning. Something that we can all relate to. They want to hold hands. Now, this has even more meaning because now I have difference. I have the, here let's make it a little bigger so it looks more childlike. Bigger head, right? So now bigger, smaller, you see difference. Oh, they're different. What is the difference? What's it about? Why is it there? I mean, that's what we see differences. So this is just to show that this is meaning versus non-meaning. Non-meaning is a diagram. It's just this. This is non-meaning. It's just there. It's two-dimensional. Everything you see is everything you get. And if you can imagine a story looking at that, then you can imagine a story not looking at it just as well because there's really nothing there to help you out that much. And that's the point, you know, with the painting. We want to have a reason to look at it. So this creature here, I wanted something to contrast with the kind of lazy and unalarmed look on this creature's face, and the body language is just, it's sprawled out, it's relaxing, its eyes are squinted. And so this is high contrast to something that there's obviously a commotion happening here. Its feet are snared and looks like it's getting pulled off of its feet maybe, or maybe it's been stuck there for a long time and it's just spazzing out. But the contrast of mood here causes this to look unusually relaxed considering this alarm here. And then it, you know, makes you notice that this is a very different expression. If this was the only creature, then perhaps it wouldn't look so enraged because we wouldn't see this face right next to it. So I have contrast. One thing points out another thing. And because of the panic here, this looks extra relaxed, and because of the brutality exhibited in this area, the calm nature of this creature, for me, stands out more. And so I also like that contrast. Now it feels like I'm trying to show that there's a difference. This creature, you know, this all by itself is just, you know, from a story standpoint, it's like, kind of like it's two-dimensional. It is what it is. It's face value. The story was much simpler and didn't feel as deep when this is just all by itself. But by adding these in here, now this looks like there's a journey to be made. You know, up here in the tree is one flying down here. They're all coming this way. So this suggests that this creature was once where they are and flew down here so that there was a reason to fly down here. And my mind starts to wonder, why is it here? What's going on? There must be something happening. So now, just by adding some very simple background objects that match my foreground, I have more of a story. I also took this gradient that's in the sky and brought it into my already established negative spaces here so that it now feels like that far background continues all the way behind this. And what I noticed was that the more I put that layer in there, the less I wanted to see of the details that were in this middle ground, because once the depth was there, my imagination was doing the rest. And so I try to recognize if something's really making my imagination go. I mean, I'm imagining a lot of space between this creature and these cliffs here, in a lot of possible, you know, any kind of atmosphere or land formation or trees could be back in that atmosphere. My imagination does it. So I'm not needing to see a whole bunch of detail there. It'll just clutter the picture. It'll create more edges that will make me see these edges less. So you can see I have a very simple background behind the creatures that I want to be the center of the story. But then when I get over close to the edges, I have fun and I show off some technical ability, or just for the sake of imagination, make myself wonder what kind of plant is this? What are these iridescent looking mushroom things and all that? And that's all fun stuff, but it's not necessarily adding to the story, so I want to be careful that I don't overdo it. And I would argue that, with my big colorful thorns and things, it's perhaps a little bit overdone. This body on my lava lizard, for lack of a better word, I put all of this black on it because I didn't need those bright blue and yellow colors in this picture to make the picture feel like something worth looking at. So after I had the fun of the creativity, I designed my creature, I had my concept. Well, now I've identified that I have enough going on in here. I don't need more going on over there, because if I have things going on everywhere, I have nothing going on anywhere. It's a relationship. It's not just a fixed amount of something happening. It's just a relationship. If I take away from that, I'm adding to this. It's just where there's something happening and where there's not. What's the part of the picture that is the focal point? This is what a focal point is about. In one picture, it's a very subtle and still thing. But as long as the picture has that main area that's worth looking at, it has more of a purposeful feel to it, rather than just being a constant coverage of the canvas. I can just paint a canvas all one color and get consistency. That's not what I'm after. I'm after the differences. That's why a painting exists, because I want the difference between the constant and predictable versus the thing that feels like it might be telling a story. So over here on this big creature's foot, I'm going to continue to make that more subtle. I'm going to either make it look like it's in a haze or put more black on it. The real reason for adding the black to this body is to get rid of that part of the picture. It's not so much to just add more to that creature. Now, in the same way that I try to make something visually worth looking at, I try to do the same thing. And this is only a recent understanding for me, and my brother Ben has helped me to understand this better. The story aspect is you set up contrast, you make it about something. And so if a picture's not about anything, there's really not a reason to look at it. And so the two things, visually and meaningfully, they're directly related. If you make it feel visually like it's worth looking at, then that's probably because a person is able to draw some kind of meaning out of it. Hence the expression, that picture just speaks to me. Someone might say, without understanding why they like something, I don't know, it just speaks to me. Which I think is definitely a valuable truth. We get feelings from things, and we like to feel things. I mean, that's what life is. It's a bunch of experiences, and the lack of any experience is really just completely uninteresting and unworthwhile. And a painting is the small version of that. I'm just setting it up to try to make the imagination run with it. This is probably a good example. When I was painting this guy twisting around, we've all admired somebody for their physique, their physical strength. You might look at something and say, oh, look at the muscles on that guy. He's ripped, But nobody looks at a muscle diagram and says, ooh, look at that shoulder, look at that muscle. It's meaningless. It's just a diagram. The reason I might say to myself, oh, look at the way the muscle is twisted right there. And that's what made me inspired to paint this. That's what I was saying to myself in my mind. Ooh, cool, this looks like the muscle's twisted and he's hanging from that tree. It's not just looking at the object that's there, but looking at what it's doing in the picture. So I'm seeing that this matters because of the movement and the commotion that it's suggesting. And so it causes a picture to have meaning. And I might imagine that these creatures are maybe the smarter and the smaller and perhaps they've lured these larger creatures that have dominated and bullied them on this island for too long, and they're finally luring them out to rid themselves once and for all and having victory over them by setting these snares. I might also say that this is a band of rescuers, and she's looking out for the poachers while they free these things from the trap that they're caught in. Whatever story you want to tell, I want to give the imagination a reason to tell it. I always like the little things that are hidden too. I'm gonna put like a scar on this guy's face or something. Not hidden, just subtle. Just not the first thing you see in the picture. I'll make that the last thing.